in the Cairo airport, and she was heading out to visit to find her sister in the middle of Baluchistan in Pakistan, which is where the Taliban has its headquarters today, and where the Mujahideen had their headquarters then. I didn't know this. So I bought a ticket, and this is the story of the ticket. That's the Boland Mail. Still runs today, same trains. And that is the first class railway carriage. Because you can fold these down and you get 4 bunks, right? That's first class. You should see third class. Here we go. The Boland Mail thundered on through the desert night, onto the Iranian plateau and through the Sistan Basin. We passed by the Quran, where Pakistan had detonated her first real mushroom cloud only 5 months before our arrival. But it was way beyond Quetta and through the mouth of the Boland Pass, where Muhammad Omar's fire in hell was really happening. The Soviets had invaded Afghanistan 4 years earlier, and they were quickly absorbing the lessons from all previous invaders. When you're wounded and left on Afghanistan's plains, and the woman can come out to cut up her remains, just roll on your rifle and blow out your brains and go to your God like a soldier. Rudyard Kipling. The Russians called the tribal resistance Dushman, enemy. The name the rebels had chosen rolled off their tongues more eloquently, Mujahideen. Robin and Julie had stolen into my sleeper booth. I sat up, half asleep, and rocking with the rails. A crescent moon carved an arc through the horizontal window bars of the dark compartment. There were no doors between the carriages. The only other light filtered back from the next one, through the framed rectangular entrance at the end of the cabin. Fade to black. I looked up in my stupor to a halo of thin rays struggling to bend around the obstruction. Whatever it was big. At first I thought it was a bear, but I'd never seen one with a turban wearing orange pajamas. The rest of him was all black beard and white teeth. I could hear him thinking whether he wanted to be friendly or not. He entered the cabin and hovered above. "Sit down," he ordered. I was already sitting. "America good?" he asked. I nodded in the affirmative. He was pleased. "Russia good?" was the next question. I had it covered. Definitely not good. His teeth were blinding. "Come," he ordered, pulling my elbow with a hand the size of the rest of me. We went forward through several empty cars until we reached the Afghan enclave in cattle class. The carriage ascended to the rafters with U-shaped tiered wooden shelving, packed solid with turbans and beards and teeth and weapons. A single filament bulb swung from its ceiling cord, keeping perfect time and pitch with the tracks. I was glad I had arrived with a date. A chair was placed in the middle of the remaining floor space. "Sit down," said the bear. I was already sitting. He raised an index finger to the rest of the tribe, and there commenced the lesson. "America good?" he asked. "You danced with the one that brung you." I knew the drill. They were pleased. "Russia good?" was the next question. I went for broke. "No," I exploded, cutting the air with my right hand. If teeth were the measure of success, I should have thanked the Academy. It felt good to have so many new friends. The bear's name was Lala, a big, sweet, earnest puppy dog guy who we would get to know and love in the days to come. But it was still night, and in the still night, he escorted me back to first class. "Sleep," he said, handing me a fistful of guavas. "Who was that?" Robin asked. "Lala," I said. "What does he do?" she asked. "Public relations," I said. I slept. So there's Lala in the middle there. And there's, oops, sorry. Yeah, that, I've got other photos of that. Yeah. All right, so last one. This one, wasn't in Marais, it was in Tahiti and Bora Bora. So my best friend Steve would come and visit me at times during this world trip, and we would go off and do silly things together. And we had no money. But we wanted to go to Bora Bora, and we wanted to live the good life. And we had to get creative to do that. So this is the story of how we got creative. We scrambled downstairs early next morning. Our first stop was to the Third World Ticket Office to pay for our journey to Bora Bora. Our boat had arrived overnight, and Steve and I walked over to inspect what we thought would be a rough facsimile of a cruise ship. And rough it was, an immense red and white cargo vessel, almost 600 rusty tons, built 20 years earlier in Norway, and looking every year of it. There were 2 tall yellow cranes at either end of the large open deck that constituted most of the ship, and a small pilot house at the stern. A name was painted on the hull, just aft of the anchors. Tapporo 4. It would take almost a day to island hop itself to Bora Bora, with stops at Wahine and Raiatea, and all the oily open deck space you could want, fully exposed to all the natural elements, and likely some of the more synthetic ones as well. The price was right. From there, however, the price went into orbit. Steve and I stopped for a juice and a croissant at a stand outside the Club Med office. He had that far-off stare. Bit out of our league, don't you think? I said. You don't ask, you don't get, he replied. So we went into the sub-zero quiet aircon and parked ourselves in front of a young desk jockey. He quoted a price for 4 nights. We rolled our eyes. He quoted a cheaper one. We rolled him a little less. I asked him how many guests he currently had in the Club Med in Bora Bora. He quoted a cheaper price. I offered him a quarter of his original asking price. He said no. We got up to leave. He said yes. Which flight should I book you on? He asked. Don't worry, Steve said. We got tickets. The next day, Steve and I staked out a small area in the wooden slatted deck. We left at dusk into a gently rolling sunset, suffusing through the surrounding palm-fringed islands. We pulled out the bread and wine, the latter of which must have contained some magnetic property, as it immediately attracted a Parisian artist who successfully applied her wily feminine charm to score most of the bottle. After a night stop at the dock in Wahine, I pulled the gold kazoo further out on the deck to get some cooler air. The Tapporo made Raiatea at about 5:30 in the morning, just as the first rays of the sun hit the pastel-colored, ramshackle colonial houses with their upper-story shuttered windows, bougainvillea, balconies, and balustrades, and main floor hanging laundry. We grabbed a coffee in a pleasant little market cafe and reboarded for the final stretch to Bora Bora. When I awoke again, it was already on the horizon, as stunning as I heard it would be, soaring almost 3,000 feet out of the surrounding dense coconut-forested lagoon and barrier coral reef. Mount Pai and Otemanu were 2 peaks from the same extinct volcano. The petroleum and rusted metal smells of the Tapporo were gradually wrestled away by fragrances of coconut oil and frangipanis and the sweetness of just being there. After we made landfall at Vaitapi, I yanked Steve onto a dump truck I thumbed down. We looked at each other and nodded before taking the path down past the sign to the radiating cluster of overhanging water bungalows on stilts over the Fapuari Bay Lagoon down the hill in front of us. Club Med, Bora Bora. This must be the place, he said. Bora Bora means firstborn. The only one awake in the entire complex at that hour wasn't quite up to the delivery. In the enormous bar under the giant thatched fare sat a thin, middle-aged Frenchman, strangled in plastic beads and furrowed in the only way that middle-aged, chain-smoking Frenchmen furrow, and long past his due-by date. He was holding his head with one hand and his gauloise with the other. The ash went the length of the cigarette. It fell off as he looked up. He almost fell off too. "This is a private club," he said, all indignant. "We have a reservation," said Steve. The face grew more furrowed. "But you must have vouchers," he said. We handed them over. He looked at us, then the vouchers, then us again. "It's not a dream," I said. "We're real." "But we're not expecting you until the first plane," he protested, taking an extra long drag on a freshly lit coffin nail. "We're here," Steve said. But how did you come, he asked. We came on the Teporo, I said. You came on the Teporo? It wasn't so much of a question as an expletive. Yeah, we came on the Teporo, said Steve. But the Teporo is a cargo ship, he said. Well, that would explain the oil stains on our tuxedos, I said. Game, set, match. Hey, Smokey, how about a little breakfast, Steve said, eyeing up the now burgeoning buffet. Mais oui, he said, bien sûr. They likely hadn't seen that much destruction on Bora since the last Americans landed in Operation Bobcat. It wouldn't have been pretty for a man of sophistication like Smokey to watch. He left in a hurry shortly after directing one of the staff to show us to our bungalow if they ever finish eating. After we tried one of everything, one of the attendants took us down to number 2, our overwater bungalow, with the fish viewer in the floor. Cool, said Steve. It was cool. All right, we're almost to the end. So I love travel books, which is one of the reasons I read them. I've got classical travel books I absolutely adore. Okay, I've got some more recent travel books that I totally am in love with. And then there are other travel books, you know, that are kind of okay. Some of them might surprise you. And then there's other travel books that are just, you know, don't even get me going on these ones, right? So that's fine. All right, but the ultimate road trip are these guys. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm happy to answer. Okay, if not, then I'll tell you what it's going to cost you. I have a special on today. 1 book, 25. 2 books, 45. And I've got books, other books that I've written over there too. 3 books, 60, and 4 books, 70. I was going to do 75, but I'm feeling generous. Okay, thank you very much for coming, folks. Excellent.